Alright, this is in regards to a child abuse case that I was trying to send in to the police. It says my zip file did not come over. So I tried to send them as individual pictures. Did you receive the emails I sent you? He typed, I was unable to open them. And I've tried to explain in many of the places that I was trying to explain this, they were pretty open-eared until I told them that there were police involved. Like in South Dakota, the people there that I went to right before I got on the bus to come down here for Rory's funeral, they were pretty open to listening to what I had to say, but when I started talking about police, they started being assholes to me. No matter what I said, they were fucking up front and personal in my face about it. Very snappy. I found out that that's because they are part of the sheriff's department. Lovely. Like when I was explaining to them that I'm not tech savvy, I don't know how to do all this stuff, that I am making an effort, that I am trying, I'm just not internet savvy and not computer savvy. So they got snappy with me because I have YouTube and I know how to use that. But I had help with that. Amanda Engeline helped me to be able to do that. If it hadn't been for Amanda Engeline, I would not be able to do that. And if it hadn't been for Josh, I wouldn't have an email or wouldn't have a Facebook. The person who helped me with the email was, God, I want to remember this because it was years ago. I mean, it was over a decade ago. But the thing is, I had several of those where I had sent the police what was going on via email, and they didn't receive it. So this one is a different email address. And yes, I had help setting this one up too, because it had been so long since I set up an email address that it was complicated. I mean, it's not something that I'm very good at. So with this one, same thing. The information isn't going through where it needs to. I mean, this is information that I was trying to send a Sydney police officer about a little girl getting molested by a meth head. And it shows that the mother is on cocaine and the father is a meth head who's been literally raping his wife. And he's been on meth since well before they ever got together. And it also proves that the things that I've been saying about several of the meth heads involved, she verifies it. The problem is that in order to show you guys, the general public, well, I have to edit out the phone numbers. And that'll take time. And I did actually make a video about it. I recorded all of them and I made it private so that Joe Akins could have access to it. But he apparently wasn't able to access that either. So, I mean, what is it that's preventing this information from getting to the police? I sent emails to other people and asked them if they got the emails. Yes, Sean, I saw them, I got them. I'm like, well, how is it that you guys are getting them and the cops aren't getting them? That means the cops are up to no good. Or if it's legitimately not going to them, and I did the same thing I did with you, then there's something wrong at the police end of it. When it comes to troubleshooting, like the other day when I was on the phone call with that lady, because she was talking to me, instead of getting frustrated with me and texting and telling me I'm not trying, she was talking through it with me. And because it was a video call, I was able to show her what the screen was and what was going on, and we were able to actually troubleshoot it, which never would have ever happened in texting. Not in a million fucking years. When Katie Cahill helped me to be able to take screenshots on my computer, that didn't happen until November of 2018. Before that, all of my screenshots were from my telephone. And before January of, it was November of 2018. And before January of 2018, you won't see any screenshots from my telephone either, because I didn't know how to do it. Somebody actually had to show me how to do it. And I'm not always that terrible at learning, but when I am super fucking stressed out, yeah, it is that complicated. Now, the situation there at the very beginning of this video that I was showing you with Joe Aiken, that's about a little girl who was getting molested by her stepdad. A stepdad who is a meth head. A stepdad who, by his wife's own admission to me, was raping her, was forcing her to commit sexual acts that she didn't want to do. Just like with all of these other people, though, this is stuff that I didn't want to post any of it in public. This is not stuff that I wanted to get onto YouTube or Facebook and post about. These were people who were going to help me. But the fact is, there are very few people in the United States who are sober. I know those of you who are talking shit about crackheads and meth heads, most of you are alcoholics, and you're talking shit about how alcoholics and meth heads are breaking the law. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of pill poppers talking about how most domestic violence cases and most murders have alcohol involved. Meanwhile, most of these meth heads, most of these heroin addicts started off with prescription pills. Most of these people on alcohol are on prescription pills. And these prescription pills, I can tell you from experience, are worse than any of the drugs that I've taken on the street. Of course, my drug use on the street isn't that extensive. I've tried meth, didn't like it. I smoke weed from time to time. And yeah, I would rather smoke a bowl than pop a pill every day, especially when I don't need to smoke a bowl very often, but they want you to take those drugs every day. Drugs that make you feel sick. Now, marijuana, you smoke it, it's going to be wearing off within a few hours. But you take one of those pills, you have residual effects potentially for the rest of your life. And then we go on to medications that shouldn't go into a human body. Haldol does not belong in my system. That's the best way to get me violent. It'll make me violent, amp me up, and then knock me out. It's the part where it amps me up that these people aren't understanding that you did something wrong. When I say don't put it in my system, I mean it. Yeah, sure, it'll fucking knock me out in about 30 minutes. And 10 minutes if there's a struggle and it's really going through my system, but it's not something that you want to put me on. If it's in pill form, it's going to take even longer for it to kick in and knock me out, which means that there's even more time where you're having to deal with me in rage. And the wrong damn thing to do in that situation when I'm asking for a police officer, the wrong thing to do is to laugh at me. I mean, I am trying to control my temper while you guys just induced a drug-induced temper. Don't be fucking stupid. When you have somebody telling you, don't put drugs in me, you won't like the reaction. Maybe you, as a mental health professional or as a doctor, should listen to your patients. In every one of these situations where I was going to turn in police, and they knew that I was going to turn them in, they sent me to a nuthatch to be drugged to justify what it is that the police officers did. They did that bullshit in Carbon County, Wyoming. That's Rawlins. They did it in South Dakota Well, in South Dakota, the police got involved and took me to the hospital, but the hospital bullshit is the same no matter where you go. They're not listening to you, they're there for a paycheck. They get kickdowns for prescribing you pills and for putting these drugs into you. And they're dangerous drugs. Prescription pills are more dangerous than anything you're going to find on the street. There are more prescription drug overdoses than any illegal drug overdose. And I do mean that. So while you guys on pills want to talk about how it's legal for you to pop your opiates, I want you to understand that there was a man I was speaking with just yesterday, spoke about how he was on opiates for 15 years over his back problems, and he says if Tylenol or Advil won't fix it, that he's not going to do anything else. That's because he said that the 30 days after he quit doing the opiates, prescribed opiates, were the toughest 30 days of his life. And it took him over 2 years to get his brain back to any sort of mental capacity.